In this episode of Marie TV, we do have some adult language, so if you have little ones around, grab your headphones now. Hey, it's Marie Forleo, and you are watching Marie TV, the place to be to create a business and life you love. Now, a few months ago, I heard about an acclaimed filmmaker making a documentary about someone who I love and admire and respect. So if you are someone who's hungry to make your life as extraordinary as possible, this show is for you. Tony Robbins is an entrepreneur, best-selling author, philanthropist, and the U.S.'s #1 life and business strategist. Author of 5 internationally best-selling books, Tony has empowered more than 50 million people from 100 countries through his audio, video, and life training programs. He's the subject of the feature documentary film, Tony Robbins, I Am Not Your Guru, that goes behind the scenes of his seminar, Date with Destiny, to give an insider look at how one man can affect millions. Tony, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
My pleasure. Great to see you again.
Yes. So I loved the film. It was extraordinary. It brought me back to my experience at Date with Destiny a few years ago. So I want to ask you, I know you weren't an instant yes to
No, it was not.
having this film happen. And it took quite a bit of time for you to agree to that. First, why did you say yes? What made you switch? And what are you hoping that people take away from this film?
Those are good questions. Well, the man who approached me on it is Joe Berlinger, who is, one of the most award-winning documentarians, like 7 Emmys, 2 Academy Award nominations, 2 Peabody Awards. And I met him, and I'd seen a documentary he did called the Metallica documentary. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen that one?
I haven't seen it.
It's brilliant. You see these metal guys that are now coming of age, and they're trying to figure out how to navigate from where they are to where they really want to be and their relationships. And it's just brilliantly done. So I met him socially. A mutual friend of ours who created Billions introduced us. And I
mean the show?
Yeah, the show Billions.
I
yes.
love that show.
Well, do you know Maggie, the coach there?
Yes.
She came to me, interviewed me, and that's based on me, not the sex scenes.
Amazing.
not the dominatrix, but the rest of it. It's almost word for word stuff that I've done with the hedge fund guys that I manage. So it's kind of fun. But anyway, he introduced me. We met, and I just felt Joe was I think 50 at the time and having a 50th birthday, and I know people, and I could just sense. Here's this guy who's done everything, including saved 3 people's lives who are on death row who were innocent. And he spent 2 decades to do it. I mean, just loved his integrity. And I think, I'm 6'7". He's like, I don't know, 5'6" probably, he's Jewish. I'm not. He's, by his own description, the most negative human being, cynical because he's dealt with the worst part of life for so long. New Yorker, I'm probably not. But what we had in common was this absolute commitment to seeking out and finding the truth and bringing that truth to people. And he's done it through the medium of documentaries, and I've done it through my medium. So I invited him to come to the seminar because I just wanted to help him. I didn't have any intention other than that. And the first day he wanted to run in the first hour because he heard all this music and people so happy. He's like, this is not me, and he's freaking out. And I guess he called his wife, is what he told me later, and said, how do I get out of here without pissing Tony Robbins off? He's been so nice to me and brought me out here. I really like him, but I can't handle this. And she said, honey, stick around for a few more hours. And a few hours later, then by the next morning, he had an experience that transformed him. He said that he had a lot of challenges in his childhood, and I did a process that for everybody is very powerful. But for him, he woke up and opened his eyes after this process, just tears pouring out like he'd never felt in his life. And he felt this huge burden come out of him. He said, if this could happen, I'm in for the 6 days. I've never experienced anything like this. So he then approached me afterwards, thanked me profusely and said, change his life, but how about we make this a documentary? And he just assumed I'm going to go, heck yeah, bring the cameras. And I was like, Joe, I really respect you, but I said, it's not the right venue because, you've been there. We have cameras, but it's for projection. So, it's way back here.
Yes.
A documentary's got the camera, up here while you're changing your life. I said, it'll be too disruptive. And plus, I couldn't imagine how you could take 6 days of 12, 14, 18-hour days and convert that into less than 2 hours and have it have integrity and really have the spirit of it and actually teach somebody something or give them an experience. But there's a reason he's got all those incredible awards. He's just a genius. So he worked on me for 2 years. About every 2-3 months, he'd come work on me again. And I said, Joe, I love you. I respect you, but no. And then he finally came up with a great strategy. He said, how about I'll come in, I'll film it. And if at any time during filming it is really disruptive, you end it, I walk away. It's my responsibility, no burden on you. And I said, if you want to take that risk, I'm in. And he was brilliant. The cameras disappeared. and people were transformed, and I'm grateful. Second question you asked, I guess, was, what do I hope comes out of the film?
Yeah.
I know it comes out of the film because it's been in 16 film festivals, and I've gone to a bunch of them, and to watch people, to feel people, to see what they're experiencing. And what I love is, people are my fans will love it if it's black and white, and and I give a few messages, but and people, the haters are going to hate, like like what's her name says, the singer says. But that middle group, which is most of the world that thinks they know what I do but really don't, they've been so deeply moved, because when you go to a great film, you become the character to some extent. You feel what the character feels, and by doing that, just like when you're at the event, you experience these changes in yourself. And then what my real goal is, instead of just witnessing and feeling it, is people to get the insights that cause them to see that, I don't have to settle. I don't have to tolerate the life I have, even if it's good. I want great. And I want magnificent. I want outstanding, and I can do it. And getting people to think about, what do I want for my life today? Not 10 years ago what I thought I want today. And how do I make that happen? And I think, most people believe that change takes forever. And if it does happen fast, it won't last.
Yes.
And that's true most of the time. But when you actually change the priorities of your nervous system, when you rewire yourself day in, day out, 5-6 days in a row in the environments we create, it lasts. You get huge changes. You know it from your own experience.
Yes.
But most people don't know it. So when you now witness these changes, and there's people in this film, as you know, that are in dire straits. When you have people there that are most successful in the world, and they sold their company for $200 million, and they're bored, and they're looking for what's the next step. And you got people there that are suicidal, because in a room of 2,500 people, there's always, on average, in any room of that size, there's about a half dozen or a dozen people who are suicidal. So you see these people change, you witness it, you experience it, you're inspired by it. And last night we had a screening in on a rooftop area with it. They do it in part of the city here, where there's 850 people there, and people got up afterwards and shared. And they were also moving. One woman had cancer and felt like she was giving up. And she said, I've been crying the whole film. This has given me the answer. I know what I'm going to do. And it's inspiring to see that. So normally I have to get up and work 50 or 80 or 100 hours to do that. Here, it can be happening now because of Netflix starting on Friday in 190 countries, translated around the world. And it's just a great privilege.
It's awesome. And that's why I was
What did you think of the film, Helen?
I loved it. So I got a chance to watch it when I was just away on vacation in Sicily. And
you took a vacation?
I took a 2-week vacation.
I'm impressed.
I'm super impressed.
The workaholic took a vacation, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's an endorsement for taking care of yourself.
It's a new habit, and I'm like totally with it.
That's
and
awesome.
Josh and I actually watched it together in bed in Selena, and we were both like, we loved every minute of it. And one of the opening scenes, there's a gentleman that stands up, young man, who is suicidal, and like your heart stops when you see that.
Yeah.
And so I would love to just take a look at that clip right now. Let's have a look.
Why were you suicidal?
It's because I can feel very peak states in life, but I can go so deep that I don't see a way out.
Yes.
And I'm looking for a way to get out of my body, or to hit myself, or I can explain that deep, and I don't find a way out.
What makes you hate yourself? Is it the red shoes?
What?
Is it the red shoes?
No.
Are you sure? Because they're fucking red. Don't you be smiling like that. You'll fuck everything up. If you smile like that too much, you'll want to stick around. You've been so hard on yourself. I love that you have such high standards. But those aren't high standards. That's called perfection. And most people overestimate what they can do in a year, and they underestimate what they can do in 2 or 3 decades. And you haven't been around long enough to have those extra 2 or 3 decades. So don't fuck it up. There's time. And if you give yourself just a little bit of time, and if you'll be a little more loving to yourself, I think you're gonna find you got a lot to give. I can fucking feel it. And I know fucking people. And you know I do. That's right.
Thank you.
And I know you right now. Can you feel me?
Yes, I do.
So you and I are gonna make a deal. I'm going to show you what to do to reshape yourself.
That would be nice.
And we're going to make it so you can enjoy yourself.
Oh, are you sure?
Not just when you're jerking off, other times too. And what you're going to do is you're going to remember as long as you live that I don't fucking bullshit. And you've seen it, haven't you?
Yes.
Do I tell the fucking truth? Even when it's painful? Even when it's not sweet?
Yes.
I'm telling you the truth. You've just fucking begun and you're not gonna fuck it up. You're gonna take the time to fully develop and you're gonna find a way to enjoy a little bit along the way. There you go. Did you feel that?
Yes.
What was that just happened? What just happened there when these came down like that? And you started breathing here too?
Start to believe in you and be open.
So that was extremely powerful. I have 2 questions about it.
Yes.
First, I want to take you back decades to when you first started. You have such certainty when you go and have an intervention with someone that you know you can change their lives. I'm curious, when you first had someone stand up and say they were suicidal, was it in a private client situation? Was it in a seminar? Like, take me back to what your psychology was when you first had someone in this state.
Well, I learned when I was 17 or 18, I think it was, I went and learned a series of tools. I learned Gestalt therapy, I learned Ericksonian hypnosis, I learned neurolinguistic programming. And when I'd be in these classes, I was obsessed because I want to know everything. So when I was done with a class, everybody else would go to dinner and I would sit in that class for another 2 hours and rewrite everything that I heard that I thought was valuable. Like every distinction, every story, every strategy. And then I'd try to figure out how to organize it in a way where I could use all those strategies to help. So it wasn't just information in my brain. And as a result of that, I developed skills other people didn't do because I did more, right? And I kind of became the star of the class because the teacher of the class, John Grinder, left one time and this person went into this horrific phobic response that led to, a phobic response is an uncontrollable response to a fear. And the facilitator who was there couldn't handle it. And I was there, first time student. I just stood up and I was like, move. And I just took over. And I did this work with this person and got them out of the suicidal state and then cured their phobia. And as a result, everybody was like, jaws were dropping. How'd you do that? And it wasn't how I did it. I didn't have any more skill than anybody else there. There's something inside me that when I see somebody suffering, everything in me shows up. And over the decades, and it's been many decades, 39 years now, and of course I started when I was 2, but sincerely, in 39 years, I've had so many experiences that nothing is going to surprise me now. There's only a limited number of patterns human beings have. And our patterns will make us angry or sad or suicidal, or they'll make us passionate or grateful or full of awe and beauty and love. And I know what those patterns are. So I have certainty because it's like, tying your shoes. People say, how do you get up and speak for 50 hours without any notes? Well, I've done it a few million times. And so, I'm confident tying my shoes because I've done it so much. Now, I might still have to stick my tongue out to the side. I'm a little, I'm anchored to how I learned originally. But my point sincerely is, it's not like I'm so superhuman. It's like when you see someone who's the best in the world at what they do, they're being rewarded in public for what they've practiced millions of times in private. And so I keep I haven't stopped. I keep learning, expanding, making new distinctions. I mean, I 2 or 3 times a year, I look for something to make me grow. The last thing I did, it's crazy. I finished Date with Destiny in Australia. I was exhausted 6 days and nights, really 10 because I worked with my trainers before that. And I flew straight home because the only opening in my schedule was not a vacation time. I went for 6 days to this place in Sedona, Arizona, where they put 180 electrodes on your brain. It takes like an hour to put them on. They put you in a room for 14 hours that's pitch black. And it's cold as hell. It's kind of what my seminars probably feel like for some people initially. And you learn how to turn on the alpha part of your brain, which of course not only makes you really happy, but you can solve anything in an alpha state. And it's hard. And there's these sounds that are coming out of your brain because they got this amplification. But I mean, I do that. And, the first day I want to say, who do I have to kill to get out of this? Because it's like, I'm exhausted and this is so painful. But I stick with it because I know if I can develop that skill and others, I'm just going to have that much more impact with people. So for me, I built the certainty by decades of producing the result. But in the very beginning, it was just, this person's hurting and I've got to do something. And that core aspect of me hasn't changed to this day as it was back then. But I was fortunate enough to succeed and figure things out, and you build on success.
Yes.
And it's not that I've never failed. I've failed plenty of times, but not, if I fail with somebody, I just do something else. And if that fails, I do something else. It's like I always say to people, how long do you give your average child to learn how to walk? Before you cut them off and say, you're not a walker. You go, my kid's going to keep trying until they learn to walk. That's why almost everybody walks. So I just keep changing until I find the way.
That's really fascinating. I love the other thing that I've witnessed you do in interventions, and it's so much fun, and you've done it here too, is you will break someone's pattern with humor.
Yes.
Or with some kind of shock that gets them present or laughing or just kind of bewildered in a sense where they're out of the habitual.
Like you saw that man. I mean, he's suicidal. I got to break this pattern because in that state, he's not going to create any solutions, right? So, I look for something. And in this case, it was his red shoes, and I play off of it.
It was awesome. Do you have anything, is there something like that we can do for ourselves, for someone watching, if they find themselves, wow, I always seem to go into this funk, or I always seem to get myself into this state. Is there a way that we can break our own patterns that can be helpful?
There is. I think the first step is the awareness that it is a pattern, that it is not you. It's really hard to change yourself. It's easy to change a pattern. But when you've lived a pattern so often, we get the illusion that that's me, that I'm, a person that puts things off, I'm a procrastinator, or I'm, not aggressive, or whatever it is. And we have all these aspects of our life, some of which are more developed than others, but they're in there. So I think being aware of the pattern, its limit is step one. And then step two is breaking it. But people can break their pattern easily. They just don't, not only because they're in it, but because most people have never decided to say, I'm not going to tolerate this in myself anymore. So awareness is step one. Step two is raising the standard and going, this just isn't me. This is not what I stand for. This is not good for my kids. This is not good for my husband or wife. This is not good for the world. It's not good for me. And then putting a line in the sand that says, this ends here now. And then how to break your pattern. There's a million ways to break your pattern. I mean, I do things off the cuff. One woman I had, she was so depressed and so messed up and suicidal. I was like, stand up. I said, you have a new phrase I want you to do. I want you to do this 5 times. Thank God I'm not a cockroach in Bulgaria. I mean, I just pull shit out of my, nowhere, right? And she says, what? I said, scream it. And so in the beginning, she's like, oh, and by the time she's screaming and she's laughing, I'm not a cockroach. Thank God I'm not a cockroach in Bulgaria. Now she's changed. Now we can go in and make the change, because all lasting change happens in an altered state. See, most of us think of hypnosis. Like people say, you can't hypnotize me. And they're usually in a trance when they're telling me that. I don't hypnotize anybody. I dehypnotize them. We've been hypnotized by our culture to settle for things. We've been hypnotized by our past to think of ourselves as being limited when we're not. And so what I really try to do is I alter people's state, because in an altered state, you'll do it. Just knowing, most of us know what doesn't work and what works. Most of us know when we're screwing up. Most of us know what we should do, but we don't do it. And the reason is because in that state of mind, you're not going to. If you want, I can go on a rant on what is my highest level mission right now.
Yes, please.
Okay. So for decades, my obsession has been, what makes the difference in people, right? Why do some people, you give them everything, love, joy, tremendous education, economic well-being, and they end up going in and out of rehab all day long? How many actors, actresses, wealthy people have you seen do this? It's sad. And then there are people that life has just beat the hell out of, right? People have gone through physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional, spiritual abuse. And many of those people, rather than being broken, become so hungry, so driven, because they don't want anybody else to experience that. I'm an example of that they become masterful in things, right? But along the way, I was like, okay, so what am I really about? I said, my real mission is help people get what they really want and help them have what I would call, you might say, I want to lose weight, I want to make more money, I want to have a better relationship. But what people really want is an extraordinary life, a magnificent life, which to me is life on your terms. Not Tony's terms, not your friend's terms, not even your spouse's terms. Like, what is going to light you up in this life? And once people know what that is, you need 2 skills to get there. One I've taught for decades, the science of achievement. And you know me well enough, and I know you well enough, that we both have been obsessive about finding the strategies that can help people get the result they want faster than they ever have. And you're brilliant at it. And I'm really good at it. And we have a lot of friends that are really good at it. But most people can figure that out. We can help them do it faster. And I think that's a great service. And I love being able to do that. And I love knowing answers that can help people so quickly. But it's a science to achieve, meaning if you look around and I wrote a book, I think about a year ago. I spent 4 years on it, and I wanted to answer the question: how do I help people financially in a world where most people are suffering, especially with the markets in turmoil? And I thought, I don't have those answers. I have some answers. The people with the best answers, the ones you should go. If you want to achieve something, find somebody getting the result you want and model them. Success leaves clues. Go find out, right? My original teacher, Jim Rohn, taught me that. I never forgot it. So I went out and interviewed 50 of the smartest financial people in the world. Everybody from Warren Buffett, Carl Icahn, and I found the common patterns. If you live by these patterns, you'll have more than enough money. You may not be a billionaire, but you'll have more than enough money. If you violate these rules, the science, you're going to have too much month at the end of the money. You're going to be stressed out. Same thing with your body. We're all biochemically unique, but there are rules you and I both know scientifically that if we violate them, our energy drops. If we align, and we're going to have disease, we align with them, high energy. So that's the science of achievement. Get there quicker. How do you do it? One, obsess about what you want, right? Focus on it continuously. Have so much emotion about it that you take massive action. Keep changing your approach. Model somebody really great. And then with some grace, take some grace too.
Yep.
Some call it luck. Some call it God. If you do the first 3 steps, that 4th step usually kicks you over. But the more important lesson, and the one that I'm obsessed by getting into people's minds, I really appreciate me planting the seed with everybody. The one that'll change your life more is the art of fulfillment. And I say the art of fulfillment because what will turn you on, excite you, fulfill you is going to be different than this man here who I know is your friend behind the camera and this beautiful lady here. It doesn't matter how close we all still are fulfilled by slightly different things. And so, what I really want is I believe that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I really want people to be fulfilled even more so because billionaires, that sounds ridiculous, but they're a dime a dozen. That's an exaggeration, meaning lots of people become billionaires. What's a hell of a lot more rare is someone who loves life every single day and stays happy when it doesn't go their way. Yeah. There's nothing worse than an angry rich man, an angry rich woman. You want to slap them. It's like they have every benefit in life, but that's what the human mind does. The human brain is 2 million years old, and this is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to make you survive. And survival, it does it by fear. So what the brain does is looks for, what do I need to fight or flight from? And so it's always looking for what's wrong. And our minds can take us over unless your heart is what's running you. So what I try to do is show people how to shift that. And I try to do it 2 ways. One is I jolt them. And one way you can do that is that, about 2 years ago, we lost what I consider to be a national treasure, Robin Williams.
Yes.
How much did you enjoy or love Robin Williams?
He was incredible. And when I heard that news, it was just like everything stopped. And it was devastating to think also that he took his life.
Well, if you think about it, here's a guy. I met him once. I was at a TED Talk and he loved it, and it was my birthday, and he came and he stood in a restaurant, surprised me, and started singing happy birthday to me as a Jewish woman, as a Russian, all these things. He was such a beautiful soul, and I've never lost the suicide, and I had no idea that years later that's where he'd be, and he never reached out to me. But here's why I bring it up. Here's a man that was a master of the science of achievement. He knew how to take whatever he envisioned and make it real. He wanted to have his own TV show. Everyone told him it was impossible. He did it. He wanted the #1 show, Mork and Mindy. He did it. He wanted a beautiful family. He did it. He wanted to make more money than he could ever spend. He did it. He wanted to make movies. He did. He wanted to make movies and win an Academy Award for not being funny, his #1 skill. And he did it, right? He wanted to make the whole world laugh, and he did it. And he didn't just kill himself. He hung himself in his own home. Now, I've spent the last year, I was in China, just in Beijing. I was in Japan. I was in Brazil. I was in Australia. I've been in Toronto. Everywhere I've gone, I've asked people this question in the middle of my seminar. I say, tell me something. How many of you love this man? Don't raise your hand if you like him. 95% of the room, all over the world, every country I've been to, says they loved him. I said, was he a master of the science achievement? Clearly he was. So what happened? How does a man kill himself, leave millions of people, maybe hundreds of millions of people around the world that loved him, but more importantly, his own family, his children and his wife? The reason is because he suffered. He used drugs, he used alcohol as a way to try to escape suffering. And if you would have asked me a year and a half ago, and we've been friends for a while, Do you suffer? I would suffer. I would like, what are you talking about, right? I have the most magnificent life. I've got 18 companies. We do 5 billion in sales in 7 different industries. I have a mission that I love, that I do as much as I possibly can. I have 4 beautiful children. I have an incredible wife. I have total freedom. And I would be totally authentic in telling you all that. But I wouldn't use the word suffering, just like achievers don't think they have fear.
Yeah.
Now, I've shared with you before, like stress is the achiever word for fear. I'm never fearful. I'm just stressed. Well, if I follow your stress, it'll take me to your fear. So what I found is I suffered because suffering, there's only 2 states you can live in, 2 types. Beautiful states of being. Happiness would be one. But if you just try to be happy all the time, it's not real. Right? If some people smile so much their face hurts. It's a beautiful thing, but our nervous system needs variety in our nervous system. So think of it this way. Beautiful states could be awe. It could be love. It could be passion. It could be a courageous moment. It could be being driven. It could be happy. But in those states, no one has to tell you what to do, and you always treat yourself and others in the right way, and no one has to tell you to, because in that state, you just do the right thing in those states. The other states we can live in are suffering states. And I have a good friend named Krishnaji. I was in India with him. We were having a discussion. He goes, you talk about peak states and, lousy states. He goes, I look at those as suffering and beautiful states. And I was like, so suffering would be frustration, anger, overwhelm, stress, worry, loneliness, depression. There's a range of them. And I wasn't depressed, but I'd be, of course, pissed off or frustrated, overwhelmed at times. And that's part of life.
Right.
Here's what I believe today. That's not part of life. That's the mind. That if you don't manage it, you can have everyone loving you. You can have those beautiful family. You can have 20 Academy Awards. You can have all the money you could spend, and you're still going to be in pain. So my invitation to those viewers that are watching us, and to you as a dear friend,
yes,
is to raise the bar on what we call suffering so you see it for what it is, and to realize that you can free yourself from it. And it's not some ethereal, spiritual thing from India to do that. It's just, I think life is too short to suffer.
Yeah.
And so I realized my happiness was really cheap. Let me explain. I'd be happy all the time, but then I would leave my happiness as soon as, this little device would go off, because when you got 1,200 employees on 3 continents, what are the chances someone is screwing up right now?
Always going to be happening. There's always going to be something that you can get upset over, or there's the opportunity to get stressed, to get angry, to get pissed, to be like, oh, it's not working.
Or worried or concerned. Or there's varying levels, right? But they're all forms of suffering. So I was like, if I'm willing to give my happiness up for that, because I think everything has to be a certain way. I think people have to behave a certain way so that we can change the world. All this internal pressure that I have to make everything perfect all the time, help everybody, before I die, whatever is in the back of my head there. And what I began to realize is I'm not living when I let this take that away. Yeah. This should be one of additional tools to connect me with times. And so now when that stuff happens, I just let it go. And that, for an achiever, that's the hardest thought in your mind. Everything is a breakthrough, right? But problems need energy to live. And some things you just don't give them an energy. They're much easier to solve. Plus, it's easier to solve something in a beautiful state than in a pissed off, freaked out state. Now, some of us get pissed off and speeds us up and, we find the answers. But there's a better way. There's a more elegant way. There's a more beautiful way to live.
Yes.
And I think you embody a good portion of this, but I'd be willing to bet, since you're human, that you have suffering states. Do you?
Oh, man. Of course I do.
What do you go through? It's going to be good for people that follow you to see that vulnerability in you as well. And I know you share it.
I just wrote about this last week because when I was in Sicily, so again, taking vacations is a new habit for me. And when we were there, I really got to see, and I wrote a little bit about this, was how wound up I get. Yeah. And how irritated I get with Josh over stupid shit that doesn't matter.
Exactly right.
And it was so cool because it was so great because I was not only watching your film, and you know how much I love and appreciate your work, and I consider myself a lifelong student. I'm always looking to learn and grow. And it was almost like an out-of-body experience where I was starting to see, wow, these are some of the patterns that I have that I get in our intimacy. Like, I will stop the intimacy because I need to control everything, including his state and my state, and how, it was so awesome. And it was amazing, the healing that happened just out of slowing down. Yeah. And just out of being willing to look and not needing to be right. And also getting
you want to be right or you want to be in love.
Yes.
Those are your choices.
And being really honest and having a level of discussion, for Josh and I, where I was like, hey, this is how I feel. This is what happens. But it wasn't being delivered through this angry, combative state.
Yeah.
It was actually a discussion, and we had curious moments of how can we take better care of each other.
That's beautiful.
And so,
oh my God, it so deepens the relationship, doesn't it?
It was
as deep and as beautiful as your relationship may be. There's another level, because when you're not suffering, there's nothing in the way. Because everyone is a great communicator when things are going well.
Yes.
But when people get pissed off, frustrated, fearful, worried, everybody's a shitty communicator then. And bad communication creates bad relationships. Right?
Yeah. And so we were having this really fun time on the trip going, okay, here's another opportunity to peel the onion, where we would catch ourselves going into a habitual friction point, and we would slow it down.
Pattern.
Totally. And we'd slow it down. And both of us we're great jokers, and we comedy is like just a part of our lives.
That's how you break patterns. It's beautiful.
Yes. And so we had a chance to do that. And by the end of the trip, we were like, oh my God, we feel like we're new humans.
That's awesome.
It was, but to your point, it's like I love finding these ways. I get excited to find my patterns, because I really do believe in everything that you just shared. And there's no reason for us. I was saying it to, I don't know, Louise, I think it was you behind when I was getting dressed, or Greg, actually. You were asking, you're like, what really did you discover? And I was telling him the same thing.
Yeah.
There's always this other level. So I know we're going.
I think the most important thing for this, so that people practically apply it, because
Yes.
I hear you applying it 100%, and I'm not surprised based on who you are. But I think it really comes down to measuring it. You can't manage something you don't measure. If you're in business and you don't measure your numbers, you don't measure, you're going to be out of business. You may not care about that, but you have to, or otherwise you can't run it. It's also true with your personal life. It's also true with your emotional life. So Bonnie Pearl and I, my wife Sage and I and my family all have come up with this approach in the last year and a half, what we called our 90-second rule. And it's not you have 90 seconds to get your shit together. We don't do that. Like if we were together and you're my friend and you're suffering, I'm not going to do something and make you wrong or say you got 90 seconds. I just say, I don't know if you're feeling some stress or some pain right now, but I'm here for you if I can help. But there's a choice. Once we know there's a choice. And so in 90 seconds, since no one's pressuring you, what we really realize is all the stuff that was stressing you were just thoughts you were believing in those moments.
Yes.
Like believing he had to be a certain way, or he shouldn't do this, or you should do something different. And whenever we should all over ourselves, whenever we judge someone or ourselves, it doesn't make it better. So what I've done is, it's like, have you ever thought, I want to kill the son of a bitch?
Of course.
Okay.
And I know he feels the same.
Yeah. And so you haven't loved until you've had that thought, right? So, but what I tell people is you had that thought, but you didn't kill anybody because you didn't believe the thought. Thoughts, when people think I'm having these thoughts, you're not having these thoughts. These thoughts have been around for millions of years. The millions of years that you're an asshole, I hate you, or you should do something different, or I should do something different. Those thoughts have been around in the ether. If I would have told you 100 years ago, we were going to have a little device that was this size, and you could push a button and talk to someone on the other side of the earth because it would capture invisible waves and bring it into this box, you'd say you're insane. If you said you're going to go to the moon and back, you were called a lunatic. Thoughts are vibration. They've been around forever. This is not corny bullshit, it's the truth. And when you change the way you use your body in some way, down, excited, cranking, it's like turning the channel on a TV. You turn one channel and what you're going to bring down is invisible waves of a horror story. Turn another one, it's a comedy. Another one, it's a romance. So when you learn to trigger this and you realize your thoughts are not your thoughts, what I've become humored by as a thought goes by that used to stress me out. I go, look at that little thought going by. Look at that little thing. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that fascinating? I'm not believing this. I know that's bullshit. I know what matters is this, not all that other bullshit. And I'm committed to living in a beautiful state for me and those that I love. And the more you do it, you build muscle and it becomes easier. In the beginning, it should have been the 4-day rule,
Yes.
Or the 4-hour rule to be more accurate, probably. Because we didn't have bad days. We had some bad half days. I'll tell you that, some bad evenings at times. And now it's like, I wouldn't say it's effortless because things show up, but it doesn't last.
Yes.
And that freedom is what most people are looking for who are sitting meditating. Because I love meditation. I do a little meditation process for myself in the mornings, but you meditate in a great state and then shit happens and the mind takes over and meditation's gone.
Yes.
If you got to keep meditating all the time, you don't have a life. So meditation's a nice set point. But what I've decided is that benefit of the meditation is I use that energy to slice through anything that will make me or others that I care about really unhappy by understanding the truth. And here's the truth. all of your upsets in that situation, correct me if I'm wrong, were based on expectations you had for him and for you.
Of course.
And the problem with expectations is they put you in a box, they put the people you love in a box, and we can't help have expectations, what the mind does. But you can free yourself by expectations when you trade your expectations for appreciation. I always tell people, trade your expectation of appreciation, and that moment your whole life changes. So I'm on my way. I'm fortunate enough now to have my own private jet, which is an unbelievable gift. But most of my life I chartered, or when I went overseas, it was too expensive, right? So, fly to Australia, I now have Intercontinental Jet, I could do it. But in those days, I'd take the plane, I'd go on Qantas Airlines. And the stress in getting Qantas Airlines, what used to make me stress was like, oh my God, we got 14 hours and I'm disconnected from all the companies and people need to talk to me and all that stuff. Because, commercially in the US, you're connected to the internet, but Australia weren't. So one time I get on the plane, I'll forget, a few years ago, and they announced we have internet. And it was like God had descended into the plane. People are cheering, people like high-fiving. It was just the most, thank God we're connected to Instagram for 14 hours. It's just the silliest thing that we are as humans today. Because, we don't feel like we can live without this stuff. And I was just like them. I was like, oh, this is the greatest thing. And within 15 minutes, you can predict what happened, right? Didn't work. Didn't start again the whole 14 hours. And people are like, this is bullshit. And people are angry. 15 minutes earlier was a miracle. Now it's already an expectation. That's our lives today. We live in a world where we expect so much because so much is available to us that we're missing out on the joy. So my goal is real simple. I want to live the happiest human life humanly possible because I know in that state, I'm better for every human I can serve, including myself. Life's too short to suffer. And so I've made a decision and I created a bunch of tools to help people shift out of that suffering real fast so they know how to do it. But the essence of it is I stop, I breathe in my heart, slow it down, same thing, slow it down, see the thought go by, get a little curious about it, don't let it connect to me. And I breathe in my heart. And as I'm feeling that, then I start to think about what can I appreciate? Because there's always something wrong. And there's what's wrong is always available. So is what's right. And all you got to do is look for it and find it. And when you find it and it's real, it's not some affirmation. It's not some positive bullshit. I really do appreciate this. I'm really connected to this. I'm finding joy in this moment. That's my job. When you do that again and again and again, it's a positive addiction. And then as great as the life I've had has been and all the people I've helped, the liberation that creates is the liberation that most spiritual teachers are talking about, but it's pragmatic. You don't have to go live in a cave to do it. You're living your life like you and I do and helping people and living your life with your family, but you're getting the rewards now, not someday. So it's like trying to describe what a rose smells like. Someone's not, smelled it or tasted it yet. And my hope is that I can hook you into really considering making the most important decision of your life, which is I will not suffer anymore. If it comes up, I'll end it within 90 seconds. Maybe in the beginning, it takes me 20 minutes, but I'm going to get better and better until I am that. And it isn't phony. It isn't fake. It isn't placating. It's just knowing that life is so beautiful and rich and I'm not going to miss out on it. Yes. And it's changed my life. It's my passion.
I adore you. And I think you're clearly you're one of the people in the world. The reason I wanted to do this too, and we're not, usually we shoot Marie TV and we do it on these like little chunks because we batch everything.
Yeah.
But when this came in, I was like, I have to talk with Tony because every time I talk with you, I feel like I get more grounded in myself.
Oh, you're very kind. I love that you're already doing this with your man. And if you measure it more now.
Yeah.
And if you not only measure it more, but you reward yourself for the little victories, as beautiful as your life is, I can promise you, even for you, it'll be even more. And that would make me very happy because I care deeply about you because I know you care about so many people.
Thank you. I want to continue on with an idea that you talk about in the film called the idea of each one, teach one, and how this work can spread. And I know we're doing a bit of that right now. Mm-hmm. What does that idea mean to you?
Well, every time I do something, I'm always trying to figure out, how do I produce leverage out of this? How do I scale this? How do I help more people with this? And so, that's why I do the videos and pieces that I do of that nature, because in the modern world, we can scale that way. Yeah. That's why we made this documentary. So people, I can only see 2,500 people in an intimate setting like that, where I read everybody's form, 20 pages beforehand for days and days and days. I only do so many, but I can have millions of people get a taste of that and make changes, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think when you look at each one, teach one, I think what it really means to me is every time I go there, if I can penetrate this person's life and really get them to shift where they own it, where they don't just make the change, but they understand how they did it and why they did it, then that person can now go out and do that with their family or their friends. And then you get this gigantic multiplied effect. Otherwise, you're limited to what you can physically do with the hours in the day. And I'm able to do a lot. I got, 10,000 people at my Unleash Power Within events now, which is exciting. But, the challenge is like we go to cities and some cities, they don't have more than 10,000 seats, right? That's your max. So I had to look at it and say, how do I do more? So I'm doing everything I can to empower each individual to not only make their own changes, but then go back and take those and help someone else.
I love it. And, we have so many folks in the helping profession who watch this show. So
I know that. A lot of coaches, a lot of therapists, a lot of
teachers, everyone, and even folks that aren't necessarily in those professions, but they have a desire in their heart. They want to have a great life and they want to do everything that they can to help someone else.
Yeah.
One of the key questions that I've seen you ask in interventions multiple times, and it's always fascinating because I see you disarm people and it gets them thinking in this new way. And I'm curious if this question, if we ask it now, if people in the audience at home could find value for themselves. I'll hear you ask, whose love did you crave more? Your mother or your father?
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit to that line of questioning and what it can help someone
Let me
discover?
explain why I asked the question.
Sure.
Everything you and I do as human beings, we do based on a set of beliefs, a set of values, a set of rules. We have a set of expectations. We have a projection of how people should treat us, about how we should be, about what our body should be like, or how we should be doing financially at this stage of our life. And so all of those beliefs and values and rules, I know how to find those with precision, but as a general, you could just call them your blueprint, okay? Where does the blueprint come that tells you should feel bad about doing something or not doing something, or good about it? It comes first when you're first born, you're wide open as a baby. What can you feel? What can you do? You can do anything. You can go to the bathroom in your pants and you'll still be loved. Try that when you're 50, see if it works, right? You can do anything and you're going to be loved, right? But then gradually, very quickly, the oxytocin in your mother, and perhaps in your father as well, that makes her love you even though you look like a lizard as a child when you're a brand new baby and you got no teeth and you're fat and you're still loved, the oxytocin wears off. When it wears off, fear enters our body because suddenly someone else used to put all their needs behind ours, make us first. That's how we survive, right? Now I got to I got to be a certain way to get their love or attention. And human beings, our survivals depend upon someone else caring for us at that stage. We can't take care of ourselves like an animal that has horns or beaks or, or claws or camouflage to hide. Our competitive advantage is love.
Yeah.
And so when you look at that, you go, okay, well, where does my model of what I should and shouldn't do come from? Why do I have all the stress that says I have to work all the time and I have to do all this all the time? It comes from the source of love in your life that starts to teach you how you need to be to have that significance and love when the oxytocin wears off and they're not loving you 24/7 for no reason. And so I ask people, whose love did you crave most? Not who do you love more? Whose love did you crave more, your mother or father, assuming they were alive, or your grandmother if your father was alive, or whoever was with you?
Yeah.
And who was it for you?
My dad.
Cool. That makes sense to me. Tell me, who did you have to be for your father? And don't edit. I know you won't edit intellectually, but I mean, just tell me the first thought comes to your mind. I had to be.
Like cheerful and a hard worker.
Okay. Cheerful, hard work. I had to be.
Fun and entertaining.
Okay. Now I want you to notice her face even. Fun. It's that forced fun, even when it isn't fun, that makes it inauthentic, and you're an authentic person, but I have to be up. I have to be those things. What else did you have to be for your father?
Well, my dad, who's amazing and still alive,
Yes.
and I love him.
Yes.
He didn't ever demand much from me, but because he worked so much, I always kind of wanted to get his attention. So
right.
I didn't feel like he made demands of me, but those were all the kind of things that I tried to do to find connection with him.
That's right. So it was implied. He didn't ask it of you, but it was implied by his behavior. So many times people don't say things, and many times we misinterpret what people want from us, but we believe it at that stage, and it shapes our life.
Yes.
So you're supposed to be happy, cheerful. You have to be a hard worker. You got, I assume, probably smart. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes, right. You have to be successful. Was that one?
Yeah.
And you're all those things.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Your dad did you a beautiful gift. However, with every gift comes a limitation. And the limitation to have to be all those things all the time has also produced in you stress. Now, you handle it incredibly well, and I'm not placating you. You know how I feel about you. And I not just feel about you as a friend, but how much I respect you. So you've constantly done that. And a lot of that came from what your father imprinted with you. But there are places where you're not so happy, where you're not so positive. There are places where you're not feeling that smile, the glee smile. And to have to do that or feel bad about yourself, because unconsciously your belief is, if I don't do that, I won't be loved. And that's the oxygen of my life by the most important source. So what happens is we believe, like mine was my mom. So my mom, I had to be strong. I had to support her when I was a boy, a little child. I had to go to the grocery store starting at 5 and get the food and make the meal. I had to go to the pharmacist and convince him to give her more Valium because she lost hers, not knowing she was just abusing the drug. I mean, I became very resourceful because I wanted to please my mom. I wanted to make her happy. I had to be a good boy. I had to always be nice. I had to be quiet when I was supposed to be. You can imagine how hard that was for me. But I had to do all those things, right? And I became all those things. But I'm also an intense mother, you know what? Yeah. I'm also a committed, crazy son of a bitch. And those weren't things my mom wanted. But I had to be those for her. So what do? I pretend they're not there. Convince myself I'm not like that. So I'll give you one simplistic example, might be helpful. I am obsessed with being a giver, not positioning so. I don't give a shit if people know. It's who I am. It's how I feel good about me. My mom implanted that. It's a beautiful gift. But when you always have to be a giver, I had no money and I'd take people to lunch and I'd order an iced tea. I was starving, but because I had to be the giver, I had to buy the lunch for them. I had no money, right? I would do it. Always having to. And as a result, in my early years in business, I kept attracting people that took advantage, stole from me, did things. And I would be so upset with what's going on here. And what it was, is it matched me. I needed to give. So people who were willing to receive showed up. And they were willing to take everything they had. And one day I had a man, I'll never forget. I went to get the check. This was early in my life and career, financially at least. And he was a very wealthy guy. And I picked his brain and I went to go get the check, right? He's a billion times more than I was. And he grabbed the check away and he physically smacked my hand like hard enough that it hurt, like it jolted me. He broke my pattern, right? Yeah. And I'm like, what the hell? He goes, are you trying to steal away all my joy of buying lunch for you? Are you that selfish that you're going to take away that, try and take that joy? I'm not going to let you do it. I'm buying lunch. And I remember staring at him and I was so shocked. He did such a good job of doing what he put me in an altered state, right? Just shocked me. And I was like, wow, I never even thought about it, that I'm taking by being the giver. And so what I began to realize is I don't want to be a taker. I hate that aspect that shows up in so many people. But if I don't allow people to give, then I've robbed them of the gift that I have. And so it's so ironic because now in my life, I've learned to receive because everywhere I go, I show up at a restaurant, someone sends over a note thanking me. They bought me lunch, they bought me dinner. Where were you people when I was broke? I was like, I could have used it then. I don't need it. But now I let them do it and I come and express gratitude. And some people are really cool. They don't even tell me who they are. The waiter said they won't tell you who they are. You've changed their life. They don't want to interrupt you. Such an unbelievable classy thing. But I want to thank them. Yeah. But I've learned to just take it in and know that it's giving them a gift like I have. My wife loves to sleep. My wife loves to eat. I don't sleep, I don't eat, right? So why am I telling you this? Because those were my patterns. Her patterns are different. And because I loved her, I've learned to stay in bed a little longer. I've learned to eat a little bit more. But she's probably saved my life in some ways because I love her. I've opened my world from being a certain way. It isn't this one model now. One of my sons, I'll finish with this example, as I have 4 children and they're all adults now, and I'm so proud of all of them. But one of my sons, my youngest sons, I was always worried about him because he had a heart of gold. I mean, he's made of the same stuff you are. I am, just amazing, a contribution-driven kid, beautiful soul, no exaggeration, not just because he's my son. Anyone would know that's who he is. But early, years ago, he just had no work ethic. I grew up with nothing. We didn't go to the family island that we owned. We didn't go on a private jet. I was a Zusa. If I could make it to LA, it was a big deal, Yeah. And so it produced in him not the same level of hunger to drive or grow. He still cared about people how to drive. And I'd always be worried and I'd be trying to intervene on him. And I'm not intervening on anybody, but the difference is I was hooked because if I die, money's not it. I want him to be a proud human being. And he's I don't use my name. And I'd show up at a concert and there he was backstage. And then, I won't tell the group, but they'd say, oh, it's your son. And everybody wants to do something for my son as a way of giving me something. I don't want them to give my son anything. I want them to earn everything. And I would be so stressed out. And then I didn't want to have to come to Jesus meetings. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then one day I thought, what if I'm supposed to learn from him? What if it's not about me teaching him? What if there's something in me that needs to change that's so intense? And I thought, what skill does he have that I don't have? And I thought, chilling. He knows how to chill. I don't know how to chill.
This is amazing.
And I thought to myself, I love that I have the work ethic I do. I love that I'm so driven. I love that I want to help every human I can. And someone stops me on the street and I'm there always. But man, living that way is pretty stressful on the body, could wear you out, and could make you not be there with somebody else because you're busy trying to solve everything all the time. And I thought, maybe instead of trying to make him be a certain way, maybe I don't want to be lazy. I'll never be that. I'm incapable of that. But maybe I need to let go just a little bit and relax like your 2 weeks. Maybe that's the gift here. And so I literally changed my approach from being worried about him. That I brought him in. I said, I need to talk to you, son. And it's like, we're going to have one of those talks. You could see his face. Like I just read his mind, right? And I looked him in the eye and I just said, I have to apologize to you. And he said, what? And I said, I apologize to you. I said, I've been so worried because I want you to have everything you want in your life. And I know work ethic is such a huge part of that. And I know you have a work ethic, but it's not my insane level. But I said, I realize you don't need my insane level. You're not starting where I started from. And I said, so I realized, I've had these conversations. I hate having these conversations. I know you hate having with me where I'm trying to coach you to get more work ethic and you probably felt insulted by it. And you do things easier. You look for the easier way, sometimes the strategic way. And I said, so I want I really apologize for that. But I said, I want to learn from you. I realize you're in my life, not only as my son, but to teach me too. And you could see this quizzical look on his face. And I said, I think there's a skill you have that I need. And he had this shocked look on his face. I'll never forget. And he goes, what's that, Dad? And I said, chilling. And he started to laugh out loud. And then he looked at me like, this must be a technique. You're going to manipulate me with this or something like that. I could read his mind. I know him like the back of my hand, right? My son. So he goes, I said, I'm serious. He goes, Dad, no, you are not good at chilling. I said, no, so coach me. So how do you do this chilling thing? And what do you do? And he goes, well, you just sit. I'm like, sit? And he's like doing this stuff. And we had the most funny, beautiful conversation. Here's why I tell you a story. I love my son so much. I'm so proud of him as a human being. When I stop pushing, put your fist up. If I push you like this, what are you doing? I didn't tell you to push back.
Yeah.
That's what all humans do, right? I push on you, push back. So instead of pushing on him, I let go. And as a result, he's coming towards me, right? And what happened was I was sincere. I worked at it. I'm still not a master at chilling. I'm not as good a master as he is at chilling. I don't think I'll ever be. But I have that skill, which my wife loves now, because I can turn off. Like people say, he's turned on all the time. This is just me. Yeah. It's not turned on. It's who I am. But the ability to let go at a different level has been invaluable. And I've done things I've never done in my life before, like chill with my wife in different ways. And she loves it. So it's truly been a gift. But what's amazing was I had no more conversations with him about work ethic. And what do you think magically happened in about, 3-4 months? It's like a work ethic exploded in him. It's just because now it's like, I think God, the universe, life, whatever you want to call it, infinite intelligence, I think God puts people in our lives always for a reason. And the reason when we feel irritated is so that we can become more whole. So we can go from where we were wide open and now we can only be this way. And this is who I am. This is how I have to be. To we don't have to be all those other ways at once, but where you can embrace receiving, where you can let go and not think you have to solve everything for your son or daughter right now. And that it's okay to make mistakes and learn and grow, or that I can learn something from them. And when the pressure was no longer there, when I realized God keeps putting these things in your life until you conquer them, and it's conquering inside you, not outside you. I love my son, I'm close to my son, but our relationship is transformed. I'm so proud of him. And he met a woman who now is married to, and now he's like got a different reason to work. And he's phenomenal. Same heart he always had, but he's got the work ethic too. And I didn't do shit. All he did was let go. So that's, I know most of your viewers are achievers, right? They're so striving. They're such good people. That's why I wanted to do this conversation with you. And I think you'd be served if you could just ask yourself, what is it I have to do all the time? And where did it come from? Whose love, if you're listening, whose love did I crave the most? My mother, father, or if they were passed away, my grandfather, aunt, uncle, whoever's with you. And who did you have to be for that person? Here's another one. Who could you never be for your father?
Oh, goodness. Who could I never be?
You could never be.
I don't even know. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I feel so bad right now.
No, don't feel bad.
Who could I never be?
It's not how your mind normally works.
Yeah.
You're a moving towards person.
I am a moving.
I know that about you. That's why I'm doing this. I want you to dig.
Okay.
If you're willing to.
Yeah, of course. 100%. Who could I never?
I could never be, just don't filter. Just first thing, I could never be.
Sad?
Good.
I could never be like kind of pissy.
Yeah.
I could never be like, I just have this ability to figure things out. So I don't think I could ever really be confused or like helpless.
So are there times when you've been sad?
Oh, yeah.
Are there times you've been pissy?
Yes.
If I ask your man, he would say yes.
Oh, absolutely.
At times.
Yeah,
right?
no, of course.
So the point of the matter is when you're not being that produces a level of pressure inside you because the source of love you needed to be that for, and it's in your unconscious. It's not a conscious thing. So there's a level of life and death, emotional survival that shows up that says, I've got to overcome this. Well, there's nothing wrong with having drive, but what it does is it makes you be inhuman to yourself. Yes. And when you're inhuman to yourself, your man's going to feel it because even though you don't mean to be, and you're one of the sweetest souls I know, if I rub your arm like this, no problem. But if you got a scab there and I touch you with a hair, a cat hair, you're jumping out of your skin.
Yes.
And so there's scabs there from those things. It's a horrible metaphor, but there are pieces that irritate that are there. And when someone is spiritually developed, it isn't that they can quote scripture. It's a nice thing to be able to do, or that they go to church every single day. I think those are beautiful things. But the real thing is they're comfortable within themselves. And when you're comfortable in yourself, then you can give to other people and there aren't the hooks. You're not doing it because you have to. You're not doing it because it's your identity. There may be a part of that. You're doing it because it's what's real right now. And I just think that the more we can figure that out, the more you begin to understand why you do what you do. Also, I ask people, who do you really, really like a lot? And then what are the qualities in them? And whatever you like in another person are qualities that are in you, but you've disassociated from them. You've disidentified with them because they didn't match the way you were supposed to be, right? In the source of love. And when you reclaim them, you're more alive. That's really what it is. Or I'll say to people, who do you dislike? I know you love everyone because you're a green, beautiful, socially conscious person, but we usually have something that you would get annoyed by, pissed off by.
Yeah.
And whatever qualities piss you off are qualities in you that you've also disidentified with. You don't have to become a jerk, but you have to find, if it was a taker, you got to find the energy of receiving. If it's about domination and they're dominating, you hate that. It's really about you stepping up and taking that part of your life and dominating it a bit in an intelligent way. Whatever energy is either annoying you, is calling you to find that part in yourself, or anything you love in another person is actually you. In fact, how many of you at home have gotten in a relationship sometime in the past and you were enamored for this person? They were so passionate. They were a man or woman. They took the room and you loved how they were so potent or powerful, or loving or playful or something. And you're more quiet. You're more internal. Or you're way out there and you loved how calm they are compared to you, right? The opposite energy attracts us. But then here's what happens. In one of my relationships, without saying who, I had a long-term relationship with a woman who was a great lady. And she met me, and I'm a force of nature, and she loved as a force of nature, and I make things shit happen, and I'm not much at just, hanging out. And she loved that in the beginning because it's a part of her that she did not see was in her. That she thought that was the opposite of her. She wanted those pieces. But if you don't reclaim that part of yourself, the very thing you used to love in that person, you will hate, and you will hate it because you have not grown, and now you blame them unconsciously. So all of a sudden, I talk loud and intensely and passionately. That didn't change. But all of a sudden, it went from, isn't that cool, to, does he always have to take charge of the thing? Does he always have to talk so loud? Does he always have to do this? The very thing she loved in me, she now hated in me, right? And I'm like, I don't think I've changed, right? I don't think there's anything there. It's because she didn't grow in that area. She didn't tap into that part. She didn't have to become me, but she needed to find where she was not the passenger, where she was the person who was taking charge at times, not every moment, but at times. She didn't get the growth. That's what makes you start to feel that love for someone, because there's something in them that is recognized in your spirit that's there and not fully developed or not reclaimed. And when it's reclaimed, then that relationship becomes even more powerful. It doesn't mean competitive, like one's trying to be like the other. It just, we're all more whole. And for me, simplistic things. I sleep, I eat, I laugh at little stuff. I don't have to, make everything be the most funny thing in the world. All those things came from my wife, because since I love her and I love those qualities in her, I learned to appreciate them in myself. And it just made me more whole.
So beautiful. Tony, you're just an extraordinary human, and I'm so grateful we're on the planet at the same time.
Me too.
For everyone watching, you have to see this film. You will adore it. Tony Robbins, I Am Not Your Guru, on Netflix now in 190 countries around the world, translated.
As of this Friday, July 15th.
Exactly. Watch it. You will enjoy it. And thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely.
Beautiful to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, honey.
Now, Tony and I would love to hear from you. What's the single biggest insight that you're taking away from this conversation today? And how can you put it into action right now in your life? Now, the best conversations happen after the episode over at marieforleo.com, so go on over there and leave a comment now. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for our email list and become an MF Insider. You'll get instant access to an awesome audio I created called How to Get Anything You Want. Plus, you'll get some exclusive content and insider updates that I don't share anywhere else. Stay on your game and keep going for your dreams, because the world needs that special gift that only you have. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time on Marie TV. B-School is coming up. Want in? For more info and free training, go to joinbschool.com. Judge Fuego on point. Yes. Yes.
The important stuff.
Really, does my hair look okay? Tony likes my shoes. We are good to go.
From tip to toe.